Yeah, we can pass it over.
You said about the, like, how is there, like, no bacteria in the water? Well, friends of mine, I know I've seen myself, is we found metal in our, even our drinking water here around campus. And, you know, how would you plan to purify that out? Because, I mean, even though it's in small amounts, it adds up after a while to get you sick.
Yeah, I guess if I can take that one. No water is pure. There's a natural water, you know, it leaches, you know, rocks and iron oxides and other impurities. So it's a matter of a threshold of what is safe for the human body. The Environmental Protection Agency works diligently to determine, and the kind of the thresholds for things like metals in your water and other contaminants is if it's at this maximum contaminant level. That means if it's just above that maximum contaminant level, then you have a 1 in 1 million chance, an increased chance of getting whatever the effect is, and it might be a cancer, over your lifetime. That's drinking 2 quarts of that water a day for 60 plus years. And so that's the threshold that they established for impurities. I know none of our water, you know, it leaves our filter plant, which is right across the street from your college, you know, meeting and exceeding all of those requirements. Now, it may pick up some, you know, in old buildings in particular, it may pick up some iron. That's pretty typical. And there could be some other things it picks up, you know, in the water bottle itself that you carry. Could also leach out some of those impurities.
I have a question for you. Do you foresee the cost of water going up for residents, let's say just of York County, either as a way to reduce wastefulness, or just because there is going to be increased demand and less supply?
That's an excellent question. There are a number of areas in the country in particular that have what we call conservation rates, where the more water you use, the more expensive it gets, with the intent to try to disincentivize you from using too much water. We don't do that here, and in fact our Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission that regulates this does not encourage that. And one reason, frankly, is Pennsylvania is not California or Nevada. We get 40 inches of rain a year here, and as you can see, we might have gotten 40 inches in the last 2 days. But, and it does rain once every 3 days in Pennsylvania, in this part of Pennsylvania. So it's not a quantity issue here. Certainly in areas that have water quantity issues, that's certainly a good way to attempt to reduce water consumption. Another one, of course, is education, low flow plumbing devices, which are slowly making their way into the market, and just general conservation.
One of the proposals on a worldwide level that have been made in terms of this divide between human right to water and the cost of water is that perhaps there could be a model where everybody could get water for free that represents an amount, let's say 50 liters a day per head, that would be free. And there would be a charge beyond that that would be scaled up based on how much is being used. But of course, there's a lot of resistance from industry on that.
The film emphasized that in these rural countries in Asia and Africa, there was an inadequate supply of water that was also contaminated when it was discovered or where it was located. And how do you address the problem of scarcity and contamination when there's millions of people living in communities where there's little water, and what is there is contaminated? Is there any possible solution to that ultimately?
It will remain a confounding problem for a long time. One of the things that is being now discussed is that perhaps it is not possible to serve. Well, I want to address 2 issues. One is that over 50% of the world's population now lives in cities, and that number by the middle of this century is projected to go above 70%. And that leaves also a large number of people who won't live in the cities. So that's one issue. To look at, well, you know, how do you serve the majority of the world, and what are the best approaches to do that. The second is that in places that are remote, and that's the point I think Vandana Shiva makes in the film, where if you try to supply and demand water through infrastructure, and then you have to have some threshold of how many people you will serve through that infrastructure. In situations where it doesn't make sense to reach small pockets of people, now it's widely understood that they have to be systems that are off the grid, that work for communities, where the community will have to take charge of the system of maintaining it and keeping it up. There are several efforts in that direction. The scaling up question, like new energy, is going to be a scaling up question that will need to be answered over time. And that's why the film also says that it's beyond the ken of this present generation.
One of the challenges is, in many parts of the developing world, the idea about the germ theory, that there are little kind of microscopic things that can actually cause illness in your body. That's just not part of the radar screen. They just don't understand that. And so how can you explain to someone when they have water that looks clear coming out of a river or whatever, that there may in fact be little organisms in there? That's one of the challenges. So, and one of the challenges we're going to be facing in Send Alpha is we are proposing and working with the people, the leadership there, to chlorinate the water. Well, if they taste chlorine and it doesn't taste the same, how are they going to be able to, how will they react to that? Will they react and talk to the water people to adopt and say we can't have this? So there's an educational process that has to take place. The people I've talked to said, well, why don't we just boil the water? Well, you realize, number one, they may not realize there's stuff in the bacteria in there, but also to boil water, which is a good way to kill a lot of bacteria, that takes fuel, and many times there's not that many trees around. So the fuel to make the fire to boil the water, it takes time, it takes energy, and it takes resources. And so it's just not really realistic. So I think there's an educational issue there in the developing country that has to be addressed. And then there are other things like tablets being put in water, and there's the way of chlorination is great when you have a small community together where you can use that opportunity with a local water supply to be able to do it. But that's resources and dollars and so on.
Excuse me. I think he kind of asked part of my question, but I want to still ask it again, and I want to excuse Jeff from this question because it's kind of loaded. But there is a community. I mean, the county next door to us is out of water. They cannot move forward without getting another source of water. So it's not just a matter of clean water. We're here where we're getting 40 inches of rain, but they want to grow more. And they don't have enough water to grow more because there's no water flowing into that county. Water only leaves that county. So what are your thoughts on what we do about population centers that want to continue to grow that just don't have any more water to get, and they want to take it from other communities?
It's a political question that will be answered politically depending on where you are. It's the same situation in Florida. That if South Florida, where I live, continues to grow at a tremendous rate, then you'll have to get water from north of Lake Okeechobee, and it'll have to be piped in. And I mean, the history of that is in the Colorado River,
right?
And how it has worked out. Do we want to go down the same path?
Well, this is the water war direction that you're talking about, and
it's about choices, really.
And to add the complexity to answer that question too, there are literally countries in the world where there's a depleting resource of water. And Ethiopia is one, for example, worldwide. The amount of water in Ethiopia seems to be going down for a whole bunch of complicated reasons. But there's also the expanding population of Ethiopia, which about 5 years ago was about 73 million people, and now it's over 80 million people. So you have an expanding population base with a depleting resource. How do you deal with that? It's population control. So it really has to become not just in individual towns and regions. It's really becomes a national thing, and really a worldwide thing. World Health Organization is involved in it as well. Complicated question.